Welcome to our web exclusive. I'm Mike Montecalvo, along with Eyewitness News analyst Lieutenant General Reginald Centracchio. Civilians began evacuating the eastern part of Aleppo to safer locations on Tuesday. We've kind of talked about this over the last several months, General, what's been going on in Syria. Why does someone in, let's say, New England care about, at this point, what is happening in Syria?
I think what you're seeing is a delivery of what ISIS says it will do. Because Aleppo is going down and back to the control of the Assad government, they're finding that they need to go elsewhere. And as we speak, Palmyra is being retaken by ISIS. At one point, not a few months ago, it was out of their control. Now they're looking for different places, but they will, in fact, export their terrorism else in the different parts of the world, including the United States. So we should be well aware that this is not going to go away. We'll see it on a continuing basis. And
you're talking about ISIS here. Now, the UN Security Council, they're holding an emergency meeting over the situation in East Aleppo. What needs to come out of that meeting?
There needs to be an understanding that there are civilians, thousands of civilians, that need to have safe passage to other parts of the Mideast. Without that, there'll be an additional thousands and thousands of people losing their lives, in addition to the rebels that are in that same place. So there has to be an understanding and some kind of commitment by the Assad government to allow free passage.
All right, you're talking about that. We're getting reports that women and children are being rounded up and murdered. You know, if military would go in, or any type of a military advance, how would that all play out in Syria?
You would probably see a lesser amount, but certainly you'd see thousands lose their lives anyway. But I think you would see some of it mitigated, because they wouldn't allow just a wholesale killing of thousands of people, because you'd have some opposition military in place. So bottom line is, it wouldn't help all of it, but it would certainly help a portion of those wanting to leave the country to go ahead and leave.
So this alleged agreement is supposedly for opposition fighters and civilians to leave. Russia doesn't want the fighters to go anywhere.
They're not endorsing the United Nations. I think what they're doing is they're concerned that enough fighters would leave and be able to obviously have another stronghold elsewhere. And so they want to make sure that it ends in that particular area of Syria and doesn't get expanded elsewhere.
You know, General, usually when there's an uprising, if you look through the cross history, that, you know, the leader of that country either voluntarily is taken out or is, killed. Bashar Assad must have 9 lives here when you really think about it, and he's still in power, and he stands to gain by what's going on there.
He does, but the 9th life, I think, is clearly Russia. And Russia has allegedly been putting troops and military concerns in that area, allegedly fighting ISIS, but instead they were fighting the rebels in support of the Assad government. So the 9th life, I think, is clearly Russia.
All right, we're talking about a new Secretary of State, Donald Trump, to make an official announcement. Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, those are also on the plate. If you're the new Secretary of State, what do you target first?
He needs to target the Mideast. And I think part of that has to do with, I believe that President-elect Trump is looking at his acumen, his ability to deal with Putin as a matter of trying to solve some of those Mideast problems, which could be, to some extent, a real possibility. But at the same time, I think he's limited. The new Secretary of State would be limited because of his knowledge of the rest of the Mideast. So I think we're looking at one factor to be able to bring the Mideast together and hopefully have some approach to Russia being part of that solution.
What about a name, obviously it's not him, but a name like a John McCain that would have been thrown into the mix for a Secretary of State position, somebody that knows really the whole world?
He does, but obviously John McCain and President-elect Trump don't get along well. And obviously, whoever you put in the Secretary of State's position has got to understand what the overall policy is and whatever the foreign policy is of the president.
And it has to be executed.
Absolutely.
All right, real quick before we go away, of course, you mentioned Russia and the hacking that's been going on. What's your take with the cyber terrorism that's happening?
You and I have been talking about cyber terrorism for several years now. And cyber terrorism is nothing more than the ability to overcome someone else's economy using information technology and the ability to compromise that. So what we're seeing with hacking is nothing more than what we've been talking about. It's just taking on a different face right now.
All right, General, as always, thank you for your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching.